Hello again and welcome to another bearing removal and installation video featuring Boca bearings. Today on the table I've got a Super Tigre G61 ABC engine that I'm going to be replacing the bearings in. Now this is just a two-stroke engine and it should be rather straightforward. But as always, let's go straight to the table and see if that is the case. Okay, so here on the table I've got everything I need to do this bearing removal. I've got my disassembled Super Tigre G61 case here. It's got the crankshaft and the front and main bearing installed. I've got my piece of wood to help pound that out. A flat nose punch to remove the front and possibly the rear bearing off the crankshaft or the crankcase, whatever the case may be. And my light hammer, and of course I've got my heat resistant glove and my heat gun and desk vise. So let's begin by just getting this nice and hot so that we can get this crankshaft out. Now Super Tigre engines, in my opinion, just seem to be a little bit bulkier, have a little bit more mass to them, so I'm going to probably have to really sit here and heat this for a bit. Alright, let's just see if I've got enough heat in this crankcase to get this crankshaft out. Okay, so that's coming out. Let's see, did the bearing come out with it? The bearing came out on the crankshaft, which is okay. That's a good thing actually. And now I'm just going to put my punch in here and tap that front bearing out. So there we go. So I'm going to set, this thing is rather warm, I don't want to burn my mat. So in instances like this, it's also very good that it comes out like this, but the key thing is that it's good that the crankshaft and the counterweight are cut out so that you can really get on the edge of this bearing, because if it was like this all the way around, then we would have some difficulties, more so than we might already. So I'm just going to go ahead and I stand my punch up on here like that in the web or in the cutout area and just start tapping down on this bearing, and then I'll rotate it around if necessary so that I can kind of more equally pound it down. But like I said, if necessary, sometimes these things just come right off like that. And there you go. There's our rather large main rear bearing, and you can see the color and how that is. That's pretty, it got a lot of caster residue on there, it looks like. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to go out, clean this up on the, this is still rather warm. No, it's not that warm, I can take my glove off. Go out and I'm going to use my bench grinder with a brass brush and clean this all up. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to put this crankcase, which is still rather hot, in the ultrasonic cleaner and get it cleaned up and ready to accept a new set of bearings. Okay, I'm back here with my cleaned up crankshaft, and one thing I forgot to mention is that this Super Tigre engine has a bushing on here, and when you take these things apart, you want to really be careful and be aware that that is there and that you don't lose that, because that is a necessary spacer for the bearing inside the engine. I've also got my nice, beautiful, cleaned up crankcase here, ready to accept the bearings. Still got my same block of wood, my hammer. Now I've got a short socket extension that I'm going to use as a drive. I've got a jar here that's rather empty, but it's because I've been using it a lot, because I used Boca's Lightning Lube Road Power as my reassembly lube and bearing installation lube. And what I like to do is I'll just put a pump inside this jar, and that's what I use to lubricate all of these parts to get them ready for bearing installation and engine reinstallation. So I'm just going to use my finger here real quick and get in here and lubricate all of these surfaces that I can reach, even others that are in preparation of reassembly of this engine. So with that done, I'm going to say, here are the bearings that I'm going to put in this engine. And the bearing kit number for this engine is ENK-108. It's kit number ENK-108. So let's take these out and see what all we need to do to these bearings to get them ready to go. And it doesn't look like anything needs to be done to this rear bearing. It's already an open cage on both ends. Oh boy, does that thing spin beautifully. This front bearing, and this rear bearing, just for curiosity, is a 16003, MR 16003 size. This one here is an MR 608. Now this is a ZZ, which means it's got a metal shield on either side. So I am going to remove the shield on one side just by simply using a small screwdriver and inserting right above the inner part of the inner race and puncturing it just enough to pull this metal seal out. So now we've got this in the exact same configuration as it came out of the engine. So with all that said and done, I'm going to lubricate these bearings, and then we'll heat this engine up, crankcase up, and get these installed. Now, as usual, I always move that off to the side. I always like to put my rear bearing on the crankshaft first, because then I'll install my front bearing, and that front bearing acts as a centering mechanism as this goes in. So I got to make sure that that this bushing doesn't come off. So I'm going to put a little bit of oil there to kind of add some surface tension to that. I'm going to grab my heat glove and heat this thing up, and let's get these bearings installed. Alright, let's see if that's enough heat in this crankcase to get these bearings installed. Okay, that front bearing is in. I've got to replace my piece of wood. It's starting to fracture on me. So now we're just going to insert this crankcase, crankshaft in here, and begin the process of getting that in. Now that didn't want to go in all the way, so it's going in now. Let's see, does that feel like it's in all the way? It does. So that bearing, these bearings are fully seated and installed. So now this Super Tigre G61 engine is ready for reassembly.